My name is Anna. I'm 20 years old and I live in a small apartment in Portland. I moved here for college and work part-time at a coffee shop downtown. Life has been pretty routine, nothing out of the ordinary until a few days ago. It all started on a Thursday afternoon. I was on my way to my car after my shift at the coffee shop when I got a random Snapchat notification. The username was unfamiliar. I didn't think much of it. Maybe just a wrong snap, but I opened it. It was a picture of me, taken that very afternoon, walking to my car. The angle was strange, almost like it had been taken from behind a tree. The caption read, "You didn't notice me, did you?" My heart skipped a beat. I looked around, but no one seemed out of place. The parking lot was empty and it was getting dark. I brushed it off as a weird joke, maybe someone trying to freak me out. I blocked the user and thought that was the end of it. The next day, I was at work, and during my lunch break, I got another notification from a different username. My stomach dropped. I hesitated, but curiosity got the best of me. I opened it. It was another photo, this time of me behind the counter at the coffee shop. The caption read, "Busy day?" I started feeling uneasy. How did they take that picture without me noticing? My manager was in the back, and there hadn't been many customers that day. I showed the snap to my coworker, but they just laughed, saying it was probably a prank. I wasn't so sure. Over the next couple of days, the snaps kept coming. The usernames were always different, and each photo was taken at a different location. One was of me walking into my apartment. Another was me sitting on my couch watching TV. The worst part? I never saw anyone. Whoever was sending these knew my every move. I started feeling paranoid, checking over my shoulder constantly. I even started locking my door as soon as I got home, something I didn't usually do. Then, one night, I got the most disturbing snap yet. It was a picture of me sleeping in my bed. The caption simply read, "Sweet dreams." I jumped up, heart pounding in my chest. Someone had been in my apartment while I was asleep. I checked the doors and windows, but everything was locked. How could this be happening? I couldn't stay there alone. I called my best friend Chloe and told her everything. She stayed on the phone with me until I calmed down, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. The next morning, I went to the police. I showed them the snaps and explained what had been happening. They tried to trace the accounts, but they couldn't find anything. The usernames were random, and the photos didn't lead to any solid evidence. They told me to keep my doors locked and call them if anything else happened. That night, I tried to sleep, but every sound made me jump. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Another Snapchat notification. I didn't want to open it, but I knew I had to. My hands shook as I unlocked my phone. It was a picture of my front door. The photo had been taken from inside my apartment. I froze, my heart pounding so loud I could barely think. I ran to my bedroom and locked the door, my hands trembling. I dialed 911, barely able to get the words out. "Someone's in my apartment. Please hurry." The police arrived within minutes, but by the time they got there, the intruder was gone. They searched the entire apartment and found something that made my blood run cold. There was a small door in the ceiling of my hallway, leading to the attic. They opened it and found a sleeping bag, some food wrappers, and a few of my things. Things I hadn't even noticed were missing. Someone had been living in my attic, watching me for weeks. I couldn't believe it. The police told me the person must have snuck in when I wasn't home and had been hiding there ever since. They didn't leave any clues behind. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry. The person had vanished, leaving me with nothing but fear. I moved out of that apartment the next day, but the terror hasn't left me. Every night I double check my locks, and every time I hear a noise, I wonder if they've come back. The police never found the person who was stalking me, and the thought of them still out there, watching me, is something I can't shake. I don't feel safe anywhere anymore. My name is Mark, and I'm 21 years old. I live in a small town called Brookfield, Illinois. Nothing much ever happens here, but last night something did, something I'll never be able to forget. I hadn't heard from my childhood friend Leo in months. We were close growing up, but after high school, life got in the way. He went to a different college and we just drifted apart. Out of the blue, I got a Snapchat notification from him. I wasn't sure what to expect, maybe just a random hey or something funny. But what I saw shook me to my core. The snap opened with a shaky video of Leo, his eyes red and puffy from crying. He was sitting in his room, holding a gun to his head. The caption read, "This is it, Mark. I can't do it anymore." My heart dropped. I froze for a moment, trying to process what I was seeing. This couldn't be real, right? I quickly snapped out of it and tried calling him. No answer. I called again. Nothing. Panic set in. I sent him snap after snap, begging him to reply, but there was only silence. I jumped into my car and sped into his house. His family had moved away a few years ago, and Leo had been living alone in the old house. When I got there, the house looked abandoned. All the lights were off, and it was dead silent. I banged on the door, yelling his name, but there was no answer. Then my phone buzzed again. Another snap from Leo. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It was a video of him walking around his house, still holding the gun, looking completely out of it. The weird thing was, the timestamp on the video showed it had been recorded hours ago, but it felt like he was sending them to me live, right in that moment. I pushed the door open. It was unlocked. The house was cold, dark, and smelled like dust. I went from room to room, calling out for him, but nothing. My phone buzzed again. Another video. This time, Leo was in the kitchen, pacing back and forth, still holding the gun. The caption said, "I'm tired, Mark. So tired." The videos kept coming as I walked through his empty house. He was in different rooms, his bedroom, the living room, the hallway, all places I had just checked. Each time, timestamps showed. The videos were from hours ago, but it felt like he was there, in real time, just out of sight. My heart was pounding. I made my way to the basement. The air down there was damp and cold, and the stairs creaked under my weight. The light switch didn't work, so I had to use the flashlight on my phone. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and boxes, but in the far corner I saw him. Leo was sitting on the floor, slumped against the wall. The gun was in his hand, and there was blood everywhere. His eyes were open but lifeless. My throat tightened, and I could barely breathe. He was gone. I stood there for what felt like forever, staring at my best friend, trying to understand what had just happened. My phone buzzed one last time. Another snap. With trembling hands, I opened it. It was a video of Leo in the basement, the same place where I found him, but it was taken hours earlier. The caption simply read, "I'm sorry." I called the police. When they arrived, they confirmed what I already knew. Leo had shot himself. But what they told me next made it even worse. The videos Leo had sent me were all pre-recorded. He had planned the whole thing, sending me those snaps, knowing I would rush to his house, knowing I would find him like that. It was a cruel, twisted way to say goodbye. Leo had trapped me in his final moments, making sure I'd be the one to find him. The guilt is unbearable. I keep thinking about the snap with the gun, his tear-filled eyes, and that haunting caption, "This is it, Mark. I can't do it anymore." Every time my phone buzzes now, I flinch. I can't stop replaying those videos in my head, wondering if I could have done something to stop it. But the truth is, Leo had already made up his mind long before I ever got that first snap. He just wanted me to be the one to witness it. I don't think I'll ever be able to look at Snapchat the same way again. My name is Ethan, I'm 20, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm just your regular guy, going through life one day at a time. I go to community college, hang out with my friends, and spend way too much time on my phone. Most nights, I'm on Snapchat, scrolling through stories, sending random snaps to people. Nothing unusual, right? But one night, I saw something that still haunts me. It was late, around midnight, and I was lying in bed, mindlessly going through my Snap stories. Then, out of nowhere, I see a story from Jessica. Jessica wasn't just anyone. She was a girl I knew from high school. We weren't close, but we talked a few times. She'd always been nice to me. The thing is, Jessica went missing 2 weeks ago. I remember seeing it on the news. No one knew where she went. Her family was desperate, and the police were looking for leads. But here she was, on Snapchat, posting a story. I froze, my finger hovering over the screen. My heart started racing. I tapped on it, and the video began to play. It was a short clip of Jessica walking through a dimly lit parking garage. The lighting was bad, and the shadows made it hard to see clearly. She looked scared, glancing over her shoulder every few seconds, like someone was following her. I could hear the faint sound of her footsteps echoing in the empty garage. My stomach dropped. Why would she post this? And more importantly, how? Then, just as quickly as it started, the video cut out. I stared at my screen, trying to process what I had just seen. Was this a joke? Had someone hacked her account? Before I could even think straight, my phone buzzed. It was a snap, directly from Jessica's account. I didn't want to open it. I had this awful feeling in my gut, like I already knew what I was about to see, but I had to. My hands were shaking as I swiped to open the message. It was a video. Jessica was in the back of a van, her hands tied, her mouth covered with duct tape. She was crying, her eyes wide with terror, looking straight at the camera. My heart pounded in my chest and I felt sick. Who was doing this? I tried to screenshot it, but it didn't work. Snapchat, you know? The video vanished after I watched it. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling helpless. I needed to do something. I called the police, explaining everything I saw, but they sounded doubtful. They told me they'd look into it, but when they finally got around to it, the story and the snap were gone. Deleted! No one believed me. The police couldn't find any evidence. The case went cold, and life moved on, but I couldn't forget what I saw. I had nightmares about that van, about Jessica's face. I kept thinking there was something more I could have done, but what? My friends told me to let it go, that I was just imagining things, but I knew what I saw. Months passed. Jessica's case faded from the news, and people stopped talking about her. But then, just when I was starting to convince myself it was all some sick prank, I got another snap. It was from Jessica's account. My blood ran cold as I opened it. This time, it was a picture. Jessica's lifeless body was lying on the floor of what looked like an old abandoned warehouse. Her skin was pale, her eyes empty. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone across the room, but I couldn't move. My eyes locked onto the caption, the bottom of the image. You could have saved her. I stared at the words, the weight of them crushing me. Could I have saved her? What could I have done differently? I called the police again, but just like before, the snap was gone by the time they checked it out. No evidence, no trace, just like Jessica. Now every time I open Snapchat, I can't help but wonder if I'll see her again. Will she send me another message from beyond? Or will I just live with this guilt forever? The worst part is, I'll never know what really happened to Jessica. And every time I think about it, I can still hear her muffled cries, see the fear in her eyes. You could have saved her. Those words will haunt me for the rest of my life.